What's up, guys? It's Justin, and today I wanted to come to you and talk to you about one of the most polarizing things in the food delivery business, and that would be tips. You love them, you hate them. Some people want to talk about them all day long. Some people don't want to talk about them at all because they can be so dang frustrating. But at the end of the day, tips are how we make a majority of our money. So today I want to talk about what happens when a customer gives a massive tip and what happens when a customer gives no tip at all, what you can expect on that from both the customer side of things and the driver side of things. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already liked this video, go ahead, give it a like. And I wanted to let you guys know that we're quickly approaching 500 subscribers, and at 500 subscribers, as of today, I am announcing that I will do a 24-hour DoorDash challenge. I will literally go out midnight to midnight driving for DoorDash. It's gonna be brutal, but I wanted to do that for you guys. I'm announcing that today, so please go ahead, subscribe to the channel, get us to 500 subscribers, and be looking out for that video. All right, with all that said, let's dive straight into it. So like I said, tipping can be kind of a touchy subject once you start talking about it. Some people feel very strongly one way or the other on how much you should tip and all that. I don't really want to get into that too much. I will say personally, I just believe that you should give a fair and generous tip whenever you receive service from somebody, even if it's not maybe the absolute best service in the world, just because at the end of the day, you don't know what's going on behind the door or in the kitchen or when your driver is driving you the food. You just don't know. So I'd say just as a general practice, as long as somebody isn't totally rude to you, you should probably consider tipping a fair amount. But regardless, tipping on DoorDash is what we're here to talk about today. So I wanted to walk you through a few scenarios, and the first one is if you give a massive tip, because yes, you are our absolute favorite customers in the whole world, and you're probably thinking, yeah, I already knew that. I tipped you $10 or $15. Of course, you're gonna probably deliver me my food on a silver platter. And while yes, you are our absolute favorite customers, it isn't quite that way, and here's why. So DoorDash obviously has a tipping problem. When people don't tip, it's hard for them to get that order processed and hard to get drivers to deliver the food. So they have to combat that in some way to incentivize drivers to pick up lower dollar amount orders. The way that they do this is through something called hidden tips. Now again, this is something that a lot of people have different theories on and whatnot. I've heard people say if it's more than a $5 tip and you're going less than 4 miles. I've heard other people say if it's more than a $4 tip and you're going less than 5 miles. I think I got that right. But essentially what DoorDash will do is if you give a large tip on a relatively short order, let's say you tip $15 because you're super awesome, but you only live 4 miles away from the restaurant, DoorDash is not going to show the driver this absolutely massive order that they're going to make bank on. It may tell the driver, hey, we've got this order, it's 4 miles, you're going to make $8.50. Total could be higher. And so yes, your order is going to be accepted because obviously with the base pay that DoorDash pays, plus part of the tip that we're seeing, it is worth it for us to go pick up that food. That's a great order. We go and we get it. But we don't find out that you left an absolutely massive tip until we actually drop the food off. And that may not be something that even some drivers realize, but you don't always see the full tips until you drop the food off. They have hidden tips all the time, especially on those shorter orders that are for larger dollar amounts. You may see it as $8, and when you drop it off, say, hey, this was for $11, $12. You just don't know. So yes, you leave a big tip, that is incredibly appreciated, but you may not get some sort of royal service just for that because we don't know that you gave that big tip until we actually drop the food off. And then of course you have your very standard tippers. Maybe they leave $3 or $4 or $5. Of course, that is always appreciated as well, because if you don't know this, DoorDashers do keep 100% of their tips, supposedly. I guess, you know, I don't want to start controversy or anything, but technically we would have no way of knowing if we weren't keeping 100% of the tips. But regardless, I'm going to trust DoorDash on this one, which is probably not a good idea. But anyways, we keep 100% of the tips that we make. So if you leave $3 or $4 or $5, tack that onto the base pay that DoorDash pays us. And again, those orders are most likely worth it for us. And one of the first drivers to get that order is going to jump on it right away and get your food to you as fast as possible. So even if you're only leaving $3 or $4 or $5, and I don't mean to say only, that is a perfectly generous tip, well, it's still probably worth it and you're going to get your food right away. But you didn't come here to hear about the people who are actually tipping DoorDash drivers. You came here to hear about the people who are leaving absolutely nothing for us, pushing that tip all the way down to 0 and saying, frick the driver, I want my food, I'm lazy, I don't care to go pick it up, and I'm not paying an extra $1 for it. Well, here's what typically happens. Like I've alluded to multiple times, DoorDash pays a base rate for when people go pick up the food. If it's a short drive, it may only be $2.25, $2.50. It's usually less than $3. It changes market to market, but again, if it's a short drive, it's usually less than $3. Mine is $2.50. So let's say I get an order that says I'll make $2.50 to go 3 miles. Well, that automatically tells me something. You did not leave a tip. That customer did not leave a tip. All I'm going to be paid for this is my base pay. And aside from being incredibly frustrating, just to know that yes, they actually physically pulled that tip down to $0, because I do believe that DoorDash actually inputs a suggested tip. They went and changed that out to 0, which says they expect a service, they expect for us to bring them the food, but they don't want to pay a dime extra over what it costs them to actually get the food delivered. So obviously they're paying for the food and they're paying that base rate that DoorDash charges them, but they don't want to give anything else to the drivers. It is so incredibly disrespectful. It's lazy. It's the same kind of people that would go to a restaurant and not tip. But again, I don't want to get political. It is what it is. Here's what happens when they don't tip. Well, obviously for me, somebody like me gets that order, declines immediately, no second thoughts. There's no reason I would ever take an order for $2.50 or $3. It's not going to make me hardly any money. At that point, even if you're making over $1 a mile, let's say it's $2.50 to go 1.5 miles, still not going to accept that, because with the time it takes to pick up the food and then drop it off at the place, there is nothing that is worth $2.50. No matter how short a distance, if it's 1/10 of a mile, I probably still would not take it for $2.50. That is just not worth the time. So drivers like me are going to decline that order. And unfortunately for that customer, there are a lot more drivers out there like me than there are nice people that just do it for no reason. So that order is going to get declined over and over and over and over and over and over again. 100 times over, that order will typically get declined because no driver wants to take that. Now, every once in a while, you'll get somebody like me on my first day that thinks, oh, I'm just going to accept every order. I'm just going to do whatever the app sends me, and they might accept that order and deliver your food. And that's terrible, and I'm sorry to that person that does not know. I hope you're watching this video and that you're learning that you should not do that. But regardless, unless one of those people come around, that food is going to get declined over and over and over again. And eventually, obviously, the people will complain to DoorDash and request a refund, and then DoorDash has to refund those people who didn't tip, because at the end of the day, it is their service they were trying to use, so they have to refund the people. And then on top of that, they also have to compensate the restaurant for making the food. So whenever this happens, DoorDash is actually the big loser here. And of course, that's why they have these hidden tips, to try to incentivize people to take whatever orders and just hope that they're going to get a tip at the end. But if you know the system, you know that that's not the case when you have an order come through for $2.50. It's just not happening. So if you don't tip, you can expect your food to sit there for a long time. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think that is truly excellent. As opposed to going to a restaurant where you might get amazing service for an hour and then leave 0 tip, you are leaving 0 tip up front, which means you are probably going to get horrible service by not getting your food delivered to you, which is the service that you're paying for. I think that's awesome. At the end of the day, let's be real, if you aren't tipping at all, you don't really deserve to get your food, at least not in any reasonable time frame. And remember, DoorDash drivers are technically independent contractors, which means we have no obligation to accept literally any order out there, which means we usually take the good ones and decline the bad ones. So with all that said, I realize that this video might be a little bit more opinionated than one that I would typically give, but it's been something I've been thinking about a lot. I wanted to voice my opinions out there just because I do think it's such an important part of this job, and I have a feeling that most DoorDash drivers feel pretty similarly about this topic. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, literally like this video. Go ahead, hit that like button, and of course subscribe to the channel to get us to 500 subscribers so I go out and spend 24 straight hours door dashing. Come on, we can get there pretty soon. I know we can. So thank you guys so much for watching again. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.